Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to hear the full song, it's at the very end, or you can use the chapters. We're about to start getting into the session in 3, 2, 1. So this main sample is something that I've made using, there was a splice loop that was incredible, but I don't like using melodic loops because then you hear the exact same thing on other records. So I actually chopped it, brought it into the Logic sampler and played my own line with it. And then I pitch shifted a copy of it to create this mean little guy right here. So when you play them together, very cool. And then I've got like children playing. Sounds really, really nice on its own like that, but in the mix it almost gives a 1-2 Freddy's coming for you kind of vibe. At this point you can probably tell I'm a horror movie fan. This was done on my Prophet 6. Creating a little bit of vibe and suspense. And the other, this is also my Prophet. This is something I played. This is almost a pedal note with a little variation at the end, but the thing has heavy modulation on it. You're going to hear it. So that semitone up at the end, and you combine all these elements together. And then Monty introduces me as Son Symphony. That's my alter ego, by the way.
Son Symphony and Monty come!
And then he comes in the verse like a badass.
Son Symphony and Monty come!
Been around the world for days, it's a jungle maze when my bloodline starts to fade. And now I'm for the kid.
He sounds so good, it's ridiculous. So verse 1 is essentially a continuation of the intro, except that we have this wobble bass coming in. That was done with my Prophet. Just filter modulation. It's badass. And then in the drums area here we have as this rhythm loop, the original sound without the plugins. So I got torque, shifting it down slightly. It's the low pass. Reverb, which is where you get that roomy quality. And then this is just thick in the sauce. It's a little bit thicker with it. There's also a treble reduction. That goes into the pre-chorus.
Give it up! Play with the snake, then it bite back. Feel that poison, you can't react. We just catch him and burn all them rats, yeah.
So this is where it gets really cinematic. You've got little 808s dropping, not fully playing. Then you've got this texture stab. Texturing the 808s. This is continuing pretty much throughout. Same thing with the playground children, all that stuff. The sample still continuing. So we're going to mute the vocals here just to hear what's going on without the vocals. So elements like the bender string makes it really cinematic. So cool. So let's talk about the drums in the chorus. I have these percussions. And essentially I'm using Super VHS for the heat section, a bit of the wash, a bit of the drift, and this plugin to remove the top end. Essentially that's a filter, low pass, high pass. So if I put these together, and I have a gain trimmer obviously because I'm boosting a shit ton of gain here. So and I put these. And then spring reverb. That's what gives it this retro weird feel. So once again, this is what it was before. And after. So this is like lo-fied times 1,000 and also gives it a ton of character. So when you hear it in the drum context, super badass. And the kick, I've done something that I usually, not never, but I usually don't do that. I put Dirty Dog as a send to give. So that's just the reverb, by the way. And when you put it with a kick, bit of pre-delay, the gate function, helping it from ringing forever. It's awesome. So much character just from that. So the 808 is rather simplistic. It's not playing a lot. It needs a lot of room in the record, but it's doing a lot in the sense that it's heavy. That's awesome. But let's keep in mind that there's a secondary bass doing the wobble thing as well. So these two things coexist together. And I'm trimming extra bass from this because I want the 808 to be able to exist freely without getting smeared. And this group is going here, and I'm assuming, yeah, so the 808 is sidechained to that. So every time the 808 plays, so they both have room to breathe together. When you play with the drums, super badass. Then you've got my Trusted Prophet 6, the main sample, then a bunch of vocals. So if we play without the vocals just to hear the instrumental here, there comes my favorite element of the song, which is this Prophet 6 that I modulated and then put a tremolator on it to give this rhythm. And if you take that out, it's still kind of cool, but it doesn't have that urgency and that thriller aspect almost. And by thriller, I'm not talking about MJ. This is just like unsettling because it's microtonal. And then I have a double of that thing where I did it with my voice, just going, woo! So doing, once again, these kind of glides and then using whether it was a tremolator or any kind of tool to create that rhythm pocket. So together, it's like a horror movie. Maybe I've watched too many of them. Who knows? And last but not least, I want to go through the chorus vocals. I've got a couple of layers in there, and that's all Monty. Monty is just an incredible rapper, and he's got that delivery that just sounds dangerous. That's the only way I can explain it. I feel, I guess he's just like Walter White. He is the danger.
I've been counting all my foes.
I've got that track that I call Dragon under him going.
All my foes.
It's really badass. And then in between the phrases,
I've been counting all my
And it has a little verb throw here that I printed on the word foes. It's got a tremolator on it. The depth is not like fully 100%. That would be a little crazy, but still kind of cool. Check it out. So if I solo the vocals, all of them together.
I've been counting all my foes.
I've been counting all my foes.
When they see me, they lay low.
When they see me, they lay low.
They don't know me. They don't own me. Think you know me.
Yeah, and I forgot to solo these, but there's the delay throws here as well.
They don't know me. They don't own me. Think you know me. I'm unholy.
And there's that subtle texture underneath him that I called villain, mofo, here, villain, 2 L's.
They don't know me. They don't own me. Think you know me. I'm unholy. Y'all gonna meet a villain. Y'all gonna meet a villain.
All these little details, they add to the danger of the lyric. So verse 2 has a slightly different profile.
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back. Dominoes that don't fall back. I make them fall back. All of them rats try to step on my toes.
It's got this old school hip hop flavor in the vocal delivery, which I absolutely love. And I'm going to show you the vocal processing here. It's nothing crazy. So I've got a bit of EQ on the way in. That's the first thing in the chain. Then I'm controlling whether it's the plosive or the low end of the vocals, pushing a little bit of mid-range in a controlled way because I'm also compressing. 1176, one of my favorite compressors of all time. Saturation, multi-band, using the oversampling as well. I absolutely love this for vocals. By the way, this is incredible. Let's just...
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back. Dominoes that don't fall back. I make them fall back.
It's adding all that ka in the mid-range that makes it really nice and aggressive in such a great way. More aggression, I guess, here. This is just extra control, so I'm controlling, once again, the lower portion of the vocal.
I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back. Dominoes that don't fall back.
A little bit of that extra edge in the vocal as well. A little bit of soothe. Love that. And...
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back.
If I take off all the effects, I'll take off the effects and then I'll bring them in.
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back.
Then with the effects.
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac.
So I got a bit of a level gain. It's not perfectly matched, but I don't think that matters because it was a matter of doing it in context of the mix, right? So if I go...
You know I don't backtrack. Make
if I
it
do
rain.
this...
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back.
It's not a bad sounding vocal, but you can hear that it needs extra energy to compete with these super aggressive claps, right?
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back. Dominoes that don't fall back. I make them.
It's sick. And then you've got the send effects, which is essentially an echo boy doing quarter notes, another echo boy, which is acting as a mono slap, actually. I'm assuming that's a small room, a longer reverb that is like micro. It's barely there.
You know I don't backtrack. Make it rain with a fast stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac.
It definitely has a shorter profile, so it's just there for extra texture. And then the micro shift. The bridge gets a little more operatic. So we got this small choir. Continuing through the next section. In the next section of the chorus, it gets a little bit higher. And I've taken off the chords here on purpose. Once again, there's too many notes. The last thing I want is too many, like the note that Mozart gets in the movie when I think it's the king that says too many notes. What a douche. But right? Kind of feels good. And throw in the 808. The tremolator. So if I had like pads and chords in there, it'd be a real shit show, but I don't, so look at that. Plus. And then throw in the drums. And that is essentially the difference with that last chorus, is that choir wasn't there before, and that adds like a whole new cinematic element to this section. In the very last section of the song, Monty goes crazy. He's got these tracks called Hype Man. So Monty is really cool with ad-libs, and he goes nuts. He doesn't shy away from...
Go! They don't know me! Huh? They don't own me! Think you know me? Come on! I'm unholy! You're gonna meet a villain!
So I've got... it appears like I have panning automation on these. Yes. So these things I like when they move. They don't need to be static. And on the last segment here... we have this small group.
You're gonna meet a villain. You're gonna meet a villain. You're gonna meet a villain. You're gonna meet a villain.
It gets gradually, but not in a subtle way, gradually more and more aggressive in level. I think I even have, the decapitator mix, because I got saturation on it, heavy saturation in punish mode, and that starts at 0 and gradually comes up and gets automated. So this is the one thing, don't be shy from automation, Automation is cool. It really can add energy to a record. It can add life. It's a performance. It's more like it's a crescendo of aggression. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Until next time, peace.
Symphony and Monty come.
Been around the world for days, it's a jungle maze when my bloodline starts to fade. And I don't really care to talk, I'm a carnivore when it comes to the Hunger Games. And I don't care who you with or really where you from. I'm outside when the daylight shades, and I gotta pay my rent. I got mouths to feed, I ain't really got time to play.
Give it up.
Play with the snake, then it bite back, feel that poison, you can't react, we just catch him and burn all them rats, yeah.
Make the balls now. Make the balls now.
I've been counting all my foes.
I've been counting all my foes.
When they see me, they lay low.
When they see me, they lay low.
They don't know me, they don't own me. Think you know me, I'm unholy. You're gon' meet a villain. You're gon' meet a villain. You're gon' meet a villain. You're gon' meet a villain.
You know I don't backtrack. Make a van with a fat stack. I got Benjamin in a Cadillac. When you clap, then I clap back. Dominoes that don't fall back. I make them fall back. All of them rats try to step on my toes.
You are about to meet a villain. You are about to meet a villain. I've been counting all my foes.
I've been counting all my foes.
When they see me, they lay low.
When they see me, they lay low.
They don't know me, they don't own me. Think you know me, I'm unholy. You're gon' meet a villain. 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 Yeah. Play with the snake, then it bite back. Feel that poison, you can't react. We just catch him and burn all them rats, yeah. You are about to meet a villain. I've been counting